Hey, what's up? Welcome back. In this episode, we're going to talk about how you can download the data that was in your Heroku database and use that to update your locally running database so that if you're working on just a side project and you need the data that was already on Heroku locally, you can do so. So here I just reset or dropped the database for my local copy of this Form 4 data on Heroku. You can see that form4s.herokuapp.com has all of the actual data still for all of the filings and everything. And so what I wanted to do is just download the database in a sort of quick and dirty way. And so the way that I've done this in the past is I'll create a local bash file. So I'm just going to call this like clone proddb.sh. And in here, this is going to be a bash file. So shebang user bin n bash set-e. And then we're gonna run a couple commands here. First, we want to dump the prod database into a local heroku.dump file. Then we want to drop and recreate the local database. And then finally, we want to reload the data from heroku.dump into Postgres. Okay, so let's go through each of those commands one by one. When you have the Heroku toolbelt installed, you can say Heroku PG backups, and this should list out all of your backup snapshots. Okay, so no backups have actually been captured. So in this case, I don't actually have like automatic backup capturing happening, but you can schedule it to run so that it happens automatically on some periodic basis. But I'm just going to run Heroku PG backups capture to capture a single backup. And this is going to be the backup that we want to use as our sort of snapshot. Okay, now we can say Heroku PG backups, Heroku PG backups, public URL, and that should give us the public URL for the backups. Okay, so this is going to be some giant public URL for the database backups. And now what we want to do is, so you can tell too that Heroku is storing these somewhere in AWS. So we actually want to send a curl request to this URL and store the result of that download as our dump file. So we're going to say something like curl Heroku PG backups for the public URL. And we want to store the result of that in heroku.dump. And that should download that whole file, and it should be like pretty big and gnarly. Okay, so now we should have a local heroku.dump. Now we need to drop our locally running database and then recreate it. So we can say Heroku or like Rails db drop db create, and that should drop our local database and then recreate it with the same name. Okay, and then the next step is that we want to like reload heroku.dump into this database that we just recreated into development, Form 4 tracker development. We can say pg restore. This is the Postgres' restore command. We're going to restore from a dump. -- verbose clean, no ACL, no owner, -h localhost. That's the host where the Postgres server is running. Then we need to specify which database. In this case, it's going to be this development database. And finally, we need to tell it which file to back up from, heroku.dump. So that is going to like restore our local database from the dump that we just got off of Heroku. Okay, now if we say Rails S to restart the server and head back over to localhost 3000/forms, I'm kicked out because I wasn't actually logged in. I should be able to log in here. Okay, so now I'm logged in and we see that there's tons of data here. And it's also got all of the Form 4 data pre-filled. So that is like a pretty handy tool. I will throw up just a gist with the snippet of code. Actually, oh yeah, so we need to go through and actually like put this into our bash file, our bash script. So clone proddb. So this is the dump command, and then this is Rails db drop db create. And then finally, we want that PG backups or PG restore command. And that goes at the bottom here. All right, so I will put this into a gist in case that is useful to other folks, and we'll share it out. Otherwise, you just kind of run it with /clone proddb, and that will execute each of those commands to download and clone your Heroku database into something locally. Again, you really just want to use this for tiny like side projects where it's mostly just you. Anytime you have sensitive user data or you're collecting sensitive data from customers or something, and you would not want your team to have access to something like this just for security purposes. So you would likely want to create some tool that built out a local dev box environment. But when you're messing around with stuff locally and you've got some real data on Heroku, it can be nice to have just that data locally. Cool. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.